Many of you would say he probably doesn't need an introduction because we've been associated with this man in one way or the other if we're Wilmingtonians over the many years he's been active in our communities. But I will introduce him. He's a graduate of the University of Delaware with a degree in history. He was also a star on the Blue Hens football team and played professional football for the Giants. So let's see, that makes him a team player, and he understands what has worked and what hasn't in government in the past. He then sold real estate while working his way through law school. He successfully obtained that law degree. So he also has an understanding of how to conduct the many facets of governance correctly, as well as understanding the real estate market. Then, he was also a successful small business owner, owning the Stone Balloon in Newark. So he also understands the challenges of running a small business. Well, it's dubious, Mike, a dubious small business. He practiced law for a decade for the Council for State Senate, as well as practicing real estate and commercial transactions. So intricately, so he understands our state government in Dover, and one of the good things, he knows how to obtain state funding. And he also understands the real estate market and how commerce works. He spent 9 years on county council and was a member of the finance committee. So he understands local government as well as finance. And he's chaired the Hope Committee, where he's worked to transform Wilmington's most underserved communities. And therefore, he knows and understands the needs of those communities. Last, but certainly not least, he spent the last 20 years as the executive director of the Riverfront Development Corporation. So he is the man responsible for turning an industrial wasteland in our city to a reinvented and revigorated premier destination for people to live, work, and play. So it appears to me, ladies and gentlemen, that this man has spent his entire life preparing for this position and has all the skill sets necessary to be a successful mayor for the city of Wilmington. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce our mayor-elect, Michael Purzycki. Mike.
The introduction is not supposed to be longer than the speech. I won't get over that stone balloon reference for quite some time. I've denied that to my wife since we're married, and now you've outed me. And it's always nice when people talk about my great football career that they don't mention that I wore high-top shoes and wore a leather helmet. It's been a while. I mean, so look, I'm thrilled to be here. I still haven't gotten over the fact that people want to hear what I have to say about things. I ran for this job because I believed in my heart that I had the skill set to improve our city. I didn't love the city any more than the other people who ran. I don't think I'm a better person. I just thought in my toolbox were the tools to do what the city needed at the time. And I ran, and I was lucky enough to win. And I think there was some luck because, you know, when you have so many people running in that primary, people dropping in and dropping out, the dynamics change, and before you know it, somebody else gets ahead of you. I mean, so the point I want to make is there's a lot of humility in my mind about winning these things, and if you don't understand that, then you're not equipped to be in office, in my judgment. So that's how I come to this job, and you know, we had a tough race. We all talked about the things we wanted to do. I always felt that the city needed a vision. Well, first I said I think the city needs a leader who, upon his or her election, is accepted by everybody, and everybody believes that that individual is capable of doing a job, even if is not someone you supported necessarily. And I think that's really important, and I hope that tonight's turnout is an indication of about the way people feel about my being elected. The second thing is I thought the city needed a vision. You can't get anywhere if you don't know where you're going. And so I think you have to really believe You have to believe in a vision of the city that people buy into. And so for me, that vision was always it was the fundamentals, it was the blocking and tackling. It was a beautiful city. A beautiful city. People like beautiful places. And a well-run city. Frankly, things that people take for granted happens, well, it doesn't happen unless you have a management team in place that demands that your city function well. It's a city where we welcome our entrepreneurs and our business people into that building as welcome partners and not as adversaries. We don't make them run through hoops just because you're a bureaucrat and you can do it. No, that person who comes in there has a multi-million-dollar investment that is the lifeblood of our city, and that's the way we have to look at it. And then the last thing, economic development, but economic development not just for the downtown, but for our neighborhoods. That's the vision. It's to restore an economic pulse to neighborhoods that have been deprived of that for decades and decades, which has wreaked havoc on our neighborhoods and our societies and our cultures. And so that's the vision, and you have to believe in that. That has to be an essential part of why you go to work every day. So we wake up, primary night, and what do you know? We won. And now you've got to go out and now you've got to govern. So let me tell you what the experience has been like for me since. It's hard to express to you what it is like all of a sudden to dawn, to have your eyes open to the fact that so many people are depending on you. It's the hard part about the job is it's going to be a really hard job. The best part about the job is that everybody wants to help you win. Everybody wants you to succeed. Sean Riley said that to me tonight. He said, people aren't going to let you fail. They really believe in this city, and they want you to succeed, and they're going to do everything they can to help you succeed. I think there are people up and down the state who are worried about our city. And I think when we go to Dover, we're going to have people who are very receptive to what we want to do and to help us, assuming they believe that we have a credible strategy for getting the city on its feet again. So that's been it's been very eye-opening to me to understand that, and then to understand, I guess as a sub-part of that, to understand how important the mayor is. You'd think by my age that I wouldn't be surprised at stuff, but when I got elected and I saw the way people treated the office with a certain reverence for this position, I feel like I have to grow into those expectations because it's a big burden, but it's one that I'm really thrilled to undertake. But it's so important that we have a city that can be everything that I believe it can be. And let me say a few things about that. I think if I could look at the city and say, I think I'm beginning to understand some of the problems. Our city has had structural limitations for a long, long time. We have to get out of the General Assembly to ask Mother May I for virtually anything we want to do up here. We can't run our own city. If we want to add a tax, we can't do it. If we want to raise certain taxes, we can't do it. If we want to change residency, we've got to go down and ask them. Well, that's like telling a football coach, I'm going to hold you accountable for wins and losses, but you've got to hire my brother-in-law as a defensive back, and my nephew is really a good quarterback, and then hold him accountable. Well, that's just not right, and that's what this city has had to labor under now for forever. Well, I think what happens when you're boxed in like that and you've got these structural limitations, you begin to acquiesce to your own financial fortunes or misfortunes. And so what I view is this. We don't pay our people what we're supposed to pay them. We don't pay our police officers what they should be making. They make 20% less than the county cops, the state cops, and even the University of Delaware police. Give me a break. So what happens? So we start to lose police officers. They go to work somewhere else. Or morale is low, or they start to feel, you never want to give people righteousness. And so you never want someone to say, you're not treating me right, so I'm going to get back and I'll find another way to get back at you. So they start doing overtime. We're always talking about overtime. Well, you know, you can't say to people, well, we're not going to pay you much, but don't worry, you can get us on overtime. And that's kind of a little bit mentality that we have. We don't pay our directors anything near what they're worth. We don't pay the chief of staff, for heaven's sakes, makes 30% less than the chief of staff of the county. Let me just tell you something. Hard job, compare the city to the county, for police officers as well, no comparison. And so we don't do that. So what do? I think what happens is we acquiesce to that reality, we don't fight back against it, and I think you start to see the city starts to sag in the way it performs. If you go in the city-county building, of all the public buildings around, it's the one that looks the most tired. And so when people go in that building, they go, you know, what's wrong with us? Is there something wrong with us? When you want your employees to be energetic about the future, and you say, yeah, but you know, I know we've got elevators that don't work, and I know this is a kind of a tired-looking lobby, but get over it. Well, that's not the way it is. So my view, and it's the only way I can function, is to be aspirational, is to reach higher than, you know, than what everybody thinks we can grasp. And I think that's the way we have to run our city at every level. We are not gonna tolerate this idea that this is all the money we have, so this is all we can do. We're gonna find ways to thrive. I believe as well in my head and my heart, so this isn't just me dreaming, that this city is poised for greatness. I hate to say great because it reminds me of somebody else, but you know, I mean, it really, man, you're a little bit like Donald Trump. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I read books. But I'm telling you, I deal with business guys who visit the city all the time. And we are just this far away. Obviously we've got to get rid of our crime issues. But we're gonna do that. We're gonna take care of that. We're gonna build communities. We're gonna build these communities so crime is not the symptom anymore. We're gonna make the underlying problems better. We're gonna get people coming to our city. You know, we're gonna develop down on the riverfront further. We're gonna develop our downtown, which is so close to being beautiful. And by the way, I shouldn't get off here without saying it. This may be the coolest building in the whole state of Delaware. This is just wonderful. You go around this building and say, this is how everything should be done. This is how we want to perform. So I'm going, you know, I didn't prepare these remarks, as you can tell. But I have to tell you, I have such confidence in the future. Hanif and I have been friends forever. People get to be really good friends when they sing songs together. And we do. In front of 500 people, we get up and make fools of ourselves in front of all of them. And I'll tell you, you bond. You really bond when you do that. So we're great friends. You know, I've gotten to know members of council. They're great people who really believe in this city. We just have to come together to do a great job, and we're going to. So I've gone on long enough. Believe me when I tell you, the sky is the limit. We're going to do really great things, and I thank all of you for your support. And you know, when I start to stumble and fall, pick me up.